just a draw, Magnus. We've seen that throughout the years in World Championship matches. This, of course, a big game for him. He goes to D4 this time. It's a round of applause down there in the arena, forcing Nepomniachtchi to think.
E6, nice. Okay, that's nice. At E4 we get a French, which is cagey. And there we are. Okay. Knight C3. Knight of 6. Here we go.
Yeah, the French defense, it's got a bit of a reputation right at the top, but in the World Championship match we saw it so many times. It was Ding Liren's white pieces, and we might be seeing it a lot more at the top level played on. Magnus himself has never been a fan of the French.
He's never been too much of a fan of the French. He's dabbled with both colours, of course. I'm really shocked, I've got to say, to see Magnus avoid the exchange variation. In the meantime, though, he's clearly been paying attention to the World Chess Championship, Gukesh against Ding, because that A3 move on the previous turn that Magnus just played was played by Gukesh with success in the World Championship match. He got a great position later in that game. And we see the White Knight's a bit clumsy, but White has won Connect 4, so has occupied the centre, solidified the centre. In the meantime, Jan is fighting against this central strategy with a wing strategy, maybe aiming to bring his knight in a bit later.
So Magnus not the only one who's been paying attention to the World Championship match, and Jan also figuring out the right way to respond to this fresh idea that Team Gukesh had come up with in that match, pushing that A3 pawn. And this, I think, is a new position already, right? Magnus, he goes in with the king side, pushes that H pawn, targeting the queen on the other side. There's so much going on both flanks here, David, but general strategy for white is to play on the right side of the board. It is the pawn pointing theorem. We see that big pawn chain that Magnus has. It points towards the right side, towards the king side, which means in the future we can see an attack developing there.
Definitely. White's already hinted at that, Magnus, with the Alpha Zero-esque neural network suggestion of pushing the H-pawn forward. You often actually develop your rook kind of up the board. You lift it, of course you do. And yeah, it's just hard to develop the king, kind of get it to safety, hard to castle, hard to get the bishop out either. And Jan keeps his options open. I wonder whether he'll be tempted by a different type of pawn break. F6 in the air. Okay, Magnus, in the meantime, improves his bishop.
Yeah, and this whole idea of the knight retreating back to E2, that was a B1 knight. Let's remind everyone, that's not the kingside knight that's landed up there. It all revolves around solidifying the D4 square, the soul of white's pawn center, and then eventually transferring that knight to the king side. Again, this was an idea that we saw by Team Gukesh many times against the French in the World Championship. James, so fascinating that the match just finished, and Magnus has employed two of those novelties by Gukesh in the Champions Chess Tour. We saw him play Rook E1 yesterday and the A3 against the French today.
I mean, this stuff's been working out. He had seconds and thirds and fourths and fifths working with him. Of course, this stuff's gotta work. So, you know, he's like, I'm just gonna play it and see what he does. And, you know, it's nice because A3 stops a lot of Black's ideas on the queen side, especially with his A-pawn pushing all the way down to A3. You also can play B4. This is sometimes reminiscent of a Milner Berry as well.
Check the mic and make sure it sound right, boys. It sound right, boys. sound right, boys.
This is looking so busted for that Black King. Notice how all of Jan's pieces are so far away from getting to the defense. That E5 pawn stopping any piece to arrive on F6. Jan looking away. He's disgusted with the position on the board. How do you even defend this for the next few moves?
Yikes.
You don't. I think it's that simple. We see the shaking of the head. He's down under 4 minutes now. Jan Nepomniachtchi, he might just try to go down in flames here. There's simply nothing to do. You don't want to get checkmated, of course. You don't want to be remembered for a checkmate in the final of a big event like this, but it's inevitable. It's too late. He castled into the firing line. No way back.
He literally castled into getting checkmated. You know, you castled to get your king to safety, but this was the most unsafe position for the king. Jan knows it, Magnus knows it. These are the last few moments of the Champions Chess Tour Finals.
Yeah, Magnus, he has so many ways to cash in, to break through towards that Black King, which is devoid of defenders.
Thinking out again. They're like, yo, resign, bro. Like, this is hilarious. It's great to have the live audience. It's all amazing. But, yeah, I mean, it's clearly over here. Nothing. Black has no pieces really developed on the back rank. I mean, you have the bishop. Okay, you have knight and bishop on e7 are developed, but it's really it. It's nothing else. How do you stop this attack? You just don't. Bishop takes a6 is coming. You can try knight takes e3. That's fine. I go queen takes and maybe a queen b3, trying to trade the queens off.
Do you think he's gonna resign?
I think he might be tempted. He's fighting every urge in his body to resign Jan Nepomniachtchi. If this weren't the final game, I think we might have already seen a handshake and Jan moving on.
It's 2.5 minutes. He does make a move. Takes that bishop. Will be recaptured by the queen. The rook is lining up next. Jan trying to break free with that move f5. You could bring the rook into the attack. Rook g3. f4 is guarded. g7 under fire. a6 under fire. Jan's king under fire.
Resi on the spot. Rook f7. That's the resi for yikes. Really, very quick game.
It's coming. The white queen now captures a pawn. There's a pin here. He defends with all his might, all of his remaining strength in the finals here. Jan Nepomniachtchi, he's got the big square covered.
Knight g5. We sack the queen. Knight takes e6. No, not yet.
It's coming in next. He simply sidesteps. There's no attack on the queen. Knight g5.
And it's a handshake. Magnus Carlsen wins the 2024 Champions Chess Tour Finals. Nepomniachtchi there going down in flames. It was Magnus, of course it was, for the 5th year in a row. So impressive.
The winner of the Champions Chess Tour, world #1, Magnus Carlsen, does it again.